What's up, Wikia? I'm Allie, and today we're talking about Divergent, specifically the differences between the book and the movie. I should caveat this with, I did see the movie first, and then I read the books, but I read the books, and I loved them so much that it's kind of like I read them first, and then I saw the movie. Let's go with that. Alright, first things first. The character's age in the book versus the character's ages in the movie is a lot different. Triss is supposed to be 16 and 4 is supposed to be 18. Now, Shailene does do a great job at pulling off like a 16 to 18. She definitely looks young enough, but 4 is where the difference and weirdness came in. He is supposed to be 18, but his character could not get away with 18. Theo James was cast correctly, don't get me wrong. I really loved it. He's good looking, he did an amazing American accent, which was so surprising, and he really does a great job at playing the character, but he's definitely not 18, and when I read that in the book, I was like, what? I think that they were going for him to be a little bit older. Like, I think in the movie they meant to cast him as a little bit older, which is a difference, not necessarily a bad one. So the second point is the simulations. Now, the simulations just played out a lot differently in the book than the movie. I thought that there was a huge difference, specifically in Triss's struggle to hide that she's divergent. I mean, it's definitely, a lot of it is due to having so much more insight and context from reading the book, but in the movie, it didn't seem very difficult for her. You know, in the movie, they really portrayed Triss as physically weak and building mental strength. Whereas in the book, putting her through the simulations, to me at least, showed so much strength emotionally and mentally, and how it was strong at first and it got even stronger at the end for all of the craziness that she was dealing with. And that just played off a little bit weird to me in the movie. In the movie it seemed pretty simple, straightforward, whereas in the book, there was just so much more going on in the psychology of these simulations and the effects that it had on people. And I think the best example is, you know, in the very beginning, Triss does her faction simulator to figure out which faction she's most inclined to. And they cut out, in the movie, this particular part of that simulation where she's on a bus and she has to kind of defend a stranger, and she has to defend a stranger to an authority figure. And now, everything that you've seen of her is a very obedient, like kind of head down character in the movie. And then that part in the simulation is just totally skipped, and you have to build so much more with the rest of the story. Whereas in the book, it seemed like the way she tried to defend that person on the bus was so, at least to me, telling of how strong mentally and emotionally she was. And I feel like they just, in the movie, portrayed her as a little bit too weak in the beginning. It made me a little worried. But, you know, totally fine. So now, the last and final point, so that I can wrap this up, is the way that they portrayed Natalie Pryor, Triss's mom, in the book is a lot different than the way that they portrayed her in the movie. In the movie, she comes off extremely weak, to me at least. In the book, you just learn so much more because the interactions with her are totally different. In the book, there's 2 main interactions with her that are completely different than the movie that I felt like led to this difference. In the book, she visits on Visitor's Day, which doesn't exist in the movie at all, and that's where she tells Triss about the simulation serum, and she's excited to see Triss and her friends, and you kind of learn that she has a history with Dauntless, and that she's got so much more fire in her, and you know, it's just very telling of Triss's mom and Triss. Now, in the movie, they definitely do a lot less with that. They cut out the scene of Visitor's Day and made it like, you know, her mom is like sneaking on to the Dauntless campus, which I felt just was really weak. You know, it seemed like they portrayed her as so afraid of what was going to happen, afraid of what was happening, those kinds of things, but she had to fight through because she loved her daughter so much. Now, I get where they were going with that, but I didn't think that Triss's mom was so afraid. In the book, they portray her so much stronger and so fearless, and I felt like that was where Triss got it. You know, in the movie, you're kind of like, how did this girl who grew up with this mom become so fearless? So it was a little confusing. And then the final interaction with her is her death scene, which wasn't so different, but it's still a little misconstrued. In the book, she dies trying to save a group of people, and she has to tell Triss the secret knock, all this stuff. And in the movie, they kill her in the midst of fire just with Triss. And there's this whole scared interaction between the two of them that I just felt was totally unnecessary and really weird. Really, really weird. All in all, the movie did a great job of sticking to the main plot line and themes of the book, and I feel like the trilogy in general has a lot of potential. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Insurgent movie, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Uriah, who was supposed to be in the first one, but I guess they're holding him off until Insurgent. And yeah, I mean, I think that, like I said, the movies did a great job, and I'm really looking forward to Insurgent. If you haven't read the books, you have to read them. And if you haven't seen the movie, read the books first and then see the movie. If you read the books and you haven't seen the movie, just go see the movie. It's great. You won't be disappointed. I promise, I promise, I promise. Except for the things that I've talked about in this video. Those you probably will be disappointed in, but now you know that there are differences. I've prepared you for the movie. So, thank you so much to Wikia for fact-checking all of my facts. Thank you to my cats for being totally obnoxious and ruining like every take I have tried to take so far. And thanks to Maker for getting together with Wikia and making this video possible. Max, he's thanking us too.